this way. There we go.
Okay, I'd like to welcome
Did we
everyone
good?
to the Town of Stellarton Council meeting, April 14th, 2020, 4 p.m. start time. The first item is the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I
Moved by
move.
Councillor Knight. Seconder.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Pence. All those in favor, now saying aye.
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 Contrary minded. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item
Your
two is
Worship,
yes.
if I may, can I read the direction of the minister?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the direction of the minister under declared state of emergency. During the provincial state of emergency, which was declared on March 22nd, 2020, and under the authority provided to me in Section 14 of the Emergency Management Act, in addition to any other directives I have issued, and as Minister of all municipalities, I direct all municipalities and villages, including Halifax Municipality, to, effective at 2 p.m. on March 22nd, 2020, discontinue holding their meetings in person. Instead, only virtual meetings may be held by video or telephone. Those virtual meetings must be recorded and the minutes posted on a public website within 24 hours of the meeting. Despite this direction, municipalities and villages are still authorized to continue making other operational decisions, especially those required for service delivery. Please note that these directions are in addition to any requirements established in a medical officer's order under the Health Protection Act. A failure to comply with this direction could result in a summary conviction with fines between $500 to $10,000 for individuals and up to $100,000 for a corporation per incident. This direction will remain in place for the duration of the provincial state of emergency unless it is terminated in writing by me earlier. Dated March 22nd, 2020, Honorable Chuck Porter, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
To thank the clerk for that, and also ask the clerk to please read out everyone who's on the meeting today in the Zoom meeting.
Yes. So today we have Mayor Danny McGilvery, we have Deputy Mayor Susan Campbell, Councillor Simon Lawand, Councillor Gary Pence, Councillor Brian Knight, we have Town Engineer Blaine Murray, we have our planner Roland Burek, we have our building official Emily Lutton, we have our Chief of Police Mark Hobeck, and we have our Fire Chief Mike O'Sullivan, and we also have our Marketing Communications Coordinator Paige Clark, and our guest presenter today from Dean's is Cindy McKinnon.
Thank you very much. So we'll go on to the minutes from March 9th, 2020. They're distributed electronically. They're also part of the package. Is there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Danny.
Second that motion.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Councillor Knight. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded. Most carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3 is business arising from the minutes.
So Your Worship, we do have business arising from the minutes regarding the Stellarton Memorial Rink. An email was sent from Solicitor Gerald Green to our solicitor Craig Clark on Monday, April 13th, 2020. Please consider this email as confirmation that a nonprofit organization to be incorporated under the name Stellarton Memorial Community Center Association is prepared to exercise the option to purchase the Stellarton Memorial Rink building from the town of Stellarton for $1 with the intent to turn it into a community center, all as contemplated by the motion passed at the March 9th meeting of Town Council. The association is prepared to complete this transaction through any of 1, a purchase of the building only with a land lease to ensure access, 2, a purchase of the land and building, or 3, lease of the building only. The association is prepared to finalize the terms of these arrangements and complete the transaction by a reasonable timeline to be agreed upon by the parties. And as discussed, or as on the opinion of the town solicitor, Craig Clark, it is my opinion that the option 1 does just does not work for the town. Gerald and I had a call today, and he also knows the option is not practical. It is really a purchase with a buyback, a lease, or another option. So that is before council for their deliberation.
Okay, thank you. I'll start off by saying there's 3 parts to the motion. The first part's the simplest, to permanently cease operation of Stellar Memorial Rink effective immediately. The ice was removed for the final time in March 2019. The second part of the motion was fairly straightforward. Staff investigated the cost of demolition and found the $85,000 for demolition and cleanup of the site. The third part was the most complicated part of the motion. Council made the offer in good faith, but the devil's in the details. Once the lawyers became involved, as the clerk just mentioned, became clear to council that we could not just sell the building, but had to sell the land as well. And this was not the original intention of council. Before consulting legal, we thought we could have a similar arrangement with the Sobeys multi-sports complex, where the town owned the land and a nonprofit owns the building. But in talks with the lawyer, we found that's only for new builds, so it doesn't apply to the Stellarton Memorial Rink situation. So the office came back, as the clerk mentioned, to sell land with the building, lease the building to the group, or proceed with demolition. So I'll ask at this time what council's thoughts are.
Would you repeat that, Danny?
Which part?
What, the last part you just said, the options.
Yeah, sell the land with the building, lease the building to the group, or proceed with demolition.
Danny, this is Simon. My recommendation is to lease the building to the group, so I would like to put in a motion for that.
And I would second that motion.
Okay, so the motion's on the floor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded?
Nay.
So I believe the yeas are Councillor Wan and Deputy Mayor Campbell, and the nays are Councillor Pence and Councillor Knight. So to break the tie, I'd be a nay as well.
I'd like to make a motion now, Your Worship, that we proceed with the demolition. To instruct staff to prepare demolition, including shutting off power and shutting off water. I'll make that a motion.
We have a seconder.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and on the question to say that I am not comfortable selling the land for $1 is the value much more than that to the taxpayer. I don't believe that to enter into any type of leasing agreement is the best interest of the taxpayer. We don't want the taxpayer or the town of Stellarton holding any potential future liability for the building. We do not want to be leaseor of the building. We don't want we want the taxpayer to be free and clear of the building itself. So in my opinion, that leaves only the final option of demolition. Also wanted to take this opportunity to thank the group trying to save the building. You've put your heart and soul into it and never gave up. That's very obvious. So thank you for that effort. And all those in favor by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded.
Nay.
Nay.
So once again, the nays this time are Deputy Mayor Campbell and Councillor Wan. The yeas are Councillor Pence and Councillor Knight, as well as Mayor McGilvery is a yay. Is there any more business to be done in the rink, clerk?
No, the direction has been given to staff.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 4. We'd like to welcome Cindy McKinnon, the Managing Director for Dean's here. She's going to make a presentation.
Thank you, and thanks to Paige for getting things set up for me today. I believe she has our presentation that she's going to share.
I do. I just will need to know when you need me to slide.
Sure, and I think it'll be there's not a lot of information on each slide, so it's pretty obvious probably by the time I finish. But we can move along for the first one. So I always like to just remind everyone what our vision is, and that's really just about facilitating sustainable and economic tourism growth. We want to see tourism revenue. We want to see tourism visitation into the region. And we do it through marketing, communications, and education. And I think we work with all of our stakeholders. So that includes the municipalities and all the industry as well. I always just like to start with that, just to remind everybody that that's really what our focus is. Okay. So we do have 3 pillars, and we've updated this last fall, but destination marketing is always a focus, and that's usually our first pillar. Visitor services and also industry partnerships. And partnerships are things like events, like attractions, like experiences. And this year we're really focusing on events a lot more. And I'll get to that a little bit in the next few slides. So with destination, we did do our regional passports last year, and you'll see, excuse me, you'll see the 3 there. We had a little different approach last year in that we took them a little smaller from the digest version down to the sort of a little bit of a passport size, and we had a passport within those. And we did have stamps inside where people could stamp the places that they had been, and then they sent them off to us for prizes. And last December, we did choose a couple of winners. We drew them from the ones entered, and the 2 winners were from Australia and BC. So we sent them a nice local package that they could enjoy, and of course come back to visit at any point. We printed our visitor map last year, and I should, I guess, also say this information is all things that happened up until 2019. So I'll get into some 2020 things shortly, but we did produce a visitor map last year, and it's in Northumberland Shore. So we did use that in our visitor centers. Very well received among industry as well. It's not a busy map. It's simply the Northumberland Shore, and on the other side is the Eastern Shore. So it shows the attractions, it shows the experiences, and it's not busy. And we've been asked a lot over the course of the last few years, actually, for a Pictou County street map. There hasn't been one produced for quite some time, so we decided that we would produce that. It's we're selling a few ads around the perimeter. We're selling quite a few, and then things changed obviously within the last month. So we still have a few ads left to sell to finish that. We have the map itself done. We worked with Kevin at the municipality, his mapping expertise. We've used that, and we've built in all of the new streets and roundabouts and things like that. So we have that ready to print as soon as we finish selling a few of the ads, so that pays for itself. We will print that because it will be used by people outside of visitation as well. We did put an ad in the motorcycle guide for last year. We aren't doing it this year, and that's strictly because of timing and situation that we're in. We do have a new website, which I'll talk about in a second. We're still part of the Pictou County Cruise Committee, and again, that is all up in the air right now as well. What's happening, not just with the virus, but also with the pier itself. And we've also partnered with Develop Nova Scotia and Tourism Nova Scotia. And we produced a video that we released online and on our Facebook page. Basically, it's a video from the water in, so it has a little bit of a different perspective, and it's also limited, of course, to just where they can get things from the water looking in. But it's an impressive video, and one that Develop Nova Scotia will use when they're doing their small boating and yacht marketing. So those are some of the things, certainly not all of them, but those are some of the marketing pieces that we've been doing for 2019. The social media and our website. I have a video here, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, and I'm not sure that page is able to upload, but we did a video as part of our FAM tour that we did last fall with 6 different travel writers. Okay.
I was gonna say, I can play it. I did forget to connect my computer audio, so it's not gonna have the background music, but is that okay? Do you want me to go ahead with it?
That's up to you guys. Is that okay to look at? You know what, Paige? Just start it. That's great. It's only 1.5 minutes. It's not quite as effective without Jim and hearing his cry, but That's okay, Paige. We can go back to the presentation and yeah. So you got the gist of it. There's what it was is we had 6 travel writers that came to our area for about 7 days last fall, and we started them off at Pictou Lodge. Then we went to the Holiday Inn. They saw all of the experiences within Pictou County, and they created a video for us. And just that video alone, you know, we did one in Antigonish as well, which had quite a large viewing. But this one alone had 3,400 people that actually clicked on it, and 1,600 you can see there that actually viewed it. So it's seen a lot of, and there's also 25 shares that you'll see there. So 25 shares are also people who they've shared it amongst their Facebook pages, and that many more people saw it and clicked on it too. So it's a great little video, and we were hopeful that this year would be a great year to have those out there. We did 3 or 4 of them, and we plan to do more. But it's a great little video to have, and it just shows the reach that social media has. And we also have a new website. So we are rebranding ourselves a little bit, and the new website, coastalnovascotia.ca or .com, is almost ready. It's live now, so you're able to go in and have a look at that when you have a chance. And it has a lot of our membership and a lot of the attractions and experience to see. So visitor services is our other pillar. We do have 9 centers in the region, and we have 2 locally, one in Pictou that we opened the last couple of years, and we do know that we're allowed to visit that again for this year. Again, we don't know what that's going to look like, but and then we also have ongoing newsletters that we put out, e-newsletters that we put out from May until November. And we do have support. We do support the small businesses in the regional VIC in Pictou as well. We do have a small gift shop there. And of course, we support the festival events, and the ambassador program is a nice little program that we started last year. It was a pilot. We built it off of a program that we had seen in another province, and we put in to have some funding for it. And basically what it is we invited the 55 plus community to a lunch and learn one day and just explain what we do at the visitor center. And we had our staff there to explain what they do. And we had 22 people attended that lunch and learn. And we ended up getting 21 of them sign up to volunteer. So we had 21 volunteers in the 55 plus community who would go in, and they supported us over the summer. They worked in the center, and then they kept the center open. We typically would close October 1st. They let us stay open from October 1st to when the ferry ended. And that's really when the traffic from the PEI ferry is large at that location. So they let us stay open for an extra 2.5 months. And it was really successful. And we had a turkey dinner as a thank you at Christmas time for them, and every one of them said they wanted to come back. So before things happened, we were fortunate that we had 21 extra volunteers to help us in the center. We're not sure where that's going to go right now, but we do have those volunteers, and it was a really successful program. In fact, Antigonish wants to do it too. So where things take us, but we may end up doing it there as well. And then the final pillar is our partnerships. And we have a number of those, and the event strategy is one of the things that we're really focusing on for the next quite some time, really. We developed an events county committee, and Paige is actually sitting on that with us. And basically what we're doing is we're really focusing on events. Sports events will be a big one that we focus on. And I think people don't realize, you know, the minor sports, the minor hockey, the minor ball, those kind of events. Those are all tourism events, and they're taking in money into our community, and they're not often thought about as a tourism piece, but they really are. So we're just really, the role of the committee is trying to sort of a collaborative piece. We're trying to coordinate, we're trying to get people talking, and trying to make dates so that we're not doing things in the same weekends and spreading things over, especially into the non-typical tourism season. So trying to get people to talk, and really our focus is keeping things positive, keeping things productive, and not backtracking. So that's an important committee that looking forward to. We had one meeting. We had a second meeting, which was a few people. We just got messed up in the location, but we will have another meeting virtually coming up because we're sitting on an events advisory committee provincially. I am, and they've asked us to talk to the local events committee. So we will have a meeting coming up with them to talk about how to move forward once the virus is past us. We did host a tourism conference there in the fall, which was last month. It was well attended, and some great speakers. We also had, we submitted the bid for the women's hockey event that was to take place the end of March, 1st of April. And we had Team Germany coming. I've been on conference calls with Hockey Canada, and it's not 100%, but we're hopeful that we'll have a pre-camp again in 2021 once they've made the final confirmation that that event will take place in 2021. We're not sure which team we'll have, but if Germany's a part of it and the federation is a part of it, then we're hoping we'll still have Germany. The Hemlock Group is also something we're still active with. That project is still moving forward. There's work being done. Of course, it's limited right now, but there is still work being done. Training opportunities, we've continued to focus on some training and getting the industry, especially right now when they have some downtime, to get them trained and some different opportunities for them. I mentioned the FAM tour already. And we're also doing some branding. We have, we're rebranding ourselves a little bit. So we'll have you'll see a new logo in the coming months, and you'll see a new look and feel into the guides as well. And next year's we're heading into our 10th year, which is sort of surprising, I guess, to me. It seems like it's gone by so fast, but we will have that in place shortly. And I also mentioned the advisory committee already, so we'll move on from that. So going forward in 2020, things have changed a lot within the last 5 to 6 weeks, but we do have a few things that we're working on. The new regional guides have changed them up a little bit again for 2020. We've made them just a little bit bigger, and we're working now with the Advocate Communications Group, and we're making sure that our branding and our new look will be included in that. We made the decision 3 weeks ago to not print right now. We are going to have them virtual, so they will be available on our social media feeds and on our website. And then once we get out of the current situation and it looks like we will be able to have visitors safely visit us again, then we will do a print run. And our advertisers, they'll know that once we put that information out, they'll know that that's the case. They will be virtual. And then once we're safe, we'll do a print run, perhaps in July or August. And our decision was that we will probably do a print run that'll last for 2021 as well, because industry is not going to have the marketing dollars once things get open. They aren't going to have those dollars to do another guide. So we thought this is a way to help recoup some of those dollars, and we'll have it printed for 2021 as well. I mentioned the refreshed website, and you'll notice that there's a lot of new pictures, a lot of new things on that. Again, it's a membership site, so if someone isn't a member, they won't be listed on that. I mentioned the event strategy, and we're going to be implementing some of those objectives that came from that approved strategy. And we hope to have an event coordinator hired within the next few weeks. We have 2 pieces to that. The first piece has been approved funding-wise. We're just waiting to hear, and it should be any day that we have the second piece for the funding to hire that event coordinator in place. And then we'll have someone starting that can really drive the event strategy and really try to coordinate those pieces. Hoping for some more training. Again, we're waiting to hear from tie-ins. Things were in place, but then things happened. And so everybody is, I guess, doing the best that they can with that situation in terms of the training piece, but we just have to wait for industry to decide if tie-ins has the funding in place to do that again. I mentioned the branding piece, and I mentioned the new the provincial advisory committee already too. Visitor services going forward, we're looking at a number of different options. I don't know that, we know that we can use the Picto Center again this year. Whether it's going to be safe for staff to be in there talking face-to-face with visitors, we're not sure how that's going to look. We are looking at some virtual situations now in other provinces where they have like a chat line, on Eastlink or places like that, where you can chat online and get the information. We are looking at that and how that could work with our site. And how to do things virtually from a different angle to serve the visitors and make sure that we're still keeping them in this county and keeping them in our region so that they're spending their money, if they are here, in fact, to spend that. We're looking at a few different options. So there's still things being done. Things are different, but things are still happening for 2020, and we're actually in a number of calls and a number of Zoom meetings each week, just talking to different people around the province and what's happening and what's going to happen going forward. So that's just a little bit of some of the things that have happened, some of the things going forward. We're not, in terms of a budget, we are not changing our budget knowing the situation we're in. We're not asking for more money from the municipalities. We are asking for the exact same amount of money. It's around $4,600 from Stellarton. We're looking at outside of the municipality in terms of continued support for some marketing activities, things like going into a COA and going into Tourism Nova Scotia to find out if there's other funding to help our industry versus asking for it from municipalities' perspective, because there's going to be a lot of asks, I think, coming that way anyway. So if there's any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Does the council have any questions for Cindy? I just wanted to mention, Cindy, about the ambassador program you mentioned. The pilot project sounded very successful. 21 volunteers, a boost to your workforce. But it's also 55 plus is sometimes an underutilized segment of society for resource-wise. I hadn't involved in this. I think it's a really great idea. And I second the decision not to print the guides right yet. I think that was a really good decision as well. Any other comments or questions for Cindy?
No, you're doing a great job, Cindy. It's unfortunate we're in the situation we are. We might not be able to get into all those programs.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we were in a really good spot up until this happened. That we had a lot of great support and a lot of great programs that were going to be approved. So now we're just in a wait and see mode, and like I said, talking to a lot of people to see when we're going to get out of this and when it's safe to actually do things and move forward. So hopeful, but certainly the events in this tourism industry are taking a beating for sure.
Yeah, I've been speaking with some of the people in the other festivals and homecoming and the other ones, and there's going to be a lot of cancellations. I can see that. That's not going to help.
No, and there's a lot of large events that have been canceled already, and there'll be a trickle down for sure. So it's going to be it'll be a tough summer either way.
Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Cindy. Appreciate the updates.
Thank you very much. Any questions at all, you can also reach out to me through Susan, and we'll answer the best we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks.
So item 5 is reports from staff. First is the report from the police chief, Mark Hoback.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, you have my report in front of you. Not really too much to add to it other than to say that we are a couple of weeks into the provincial state of emergency. We have changed some of our protocols and some of our day-to-day business in order to keep our members healthy and safe. And what I can say in addition to the report is over this past weekend, we've issued 6 tickets under the Health Services Act for people failing to adhere to the social distancing piece to that. So that is in addition to the report.
You have lots of PPE equipment, Chief?
Yes, we've been receiving PPE from our emergency measures organization. We've picked up some on our own. I feel that we're in a pretty good position right now for what we have, and our officers have enough to keep them safe when they're attending calls.
And I'll just read briefly from the report just to highlight a few things about the COVID-19. So the officers are encouraged to deal with complaints over the phone if possible. Supervisors will triage the calls, determine if a physical response is required. Personal contact with complaints is limited to arrests. Those are the main points, I guess. Is there anything else anyone would like to talk about or highlight in the report?
Your Worship, just with that last comment about personal contact with complainants is limited to arrest, you know, that's obviously within reason. There are some calls that we do attend in person, and we are required to deal, you know, basically face to face with people. But what we're attempting to do is handle whatever we can over the phone, if possible, rather than exposing the citizens and our officers to each other during this time.
Makes sense. Thank you for the clarification. No other questions or comments? I'll have to take a motion, please.
I move to accept the report. Did you get that? Did you get that, Mayor? I move to accept the
Yeah, we need a
report.
seconder. Thank you, Councillor Knight.
I second.
So moved by Councillor Knight, second by Councillor Wand. All those in favor by saying aye. Contrary minded. Most carried unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Item 5B is Emily Lutton, Building Official and Fire Inspector.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I believe you have my council report as submitted. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't, this council. Okay, can I have a motion to accept the report then, please?
So move, Your Worship.
Second,
Moved by Councillor Penn, seconded by Councillor Knight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded. Most carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Emily. 5C is Roland Burek, Acting Planner and Development Officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess nothing really much to add other than the item on the application by PQ Properties, which was subject to a site plan approval. That's the one up at number 25 Bunker Hill. They were looking at putting in a 4-unit residential townhouse building, but because it's subject to site plan approval, there's a notification process that went out. And we did receive 2 objections from residents in the area. One was an email from Mr. Brown. Another one was a phone call from a Mr. Allard, I believe his name was. I think I'm not sure if council got copies of the email complaint. Anyway, they objected for various reasons, mostly to do with they thought that the properties wouldn't be well kept in the future and so on and so forth. So I guess the question I have for council is now we have to proceed to an appeal hearing, which is held the same way as a variance hearing is held. To clear one thing up, and this was a bit of discussion amongst the Nova Scotia planning directors last week, is Minister Porter's directive that the town clerk read at the beginning of the meeting. Does it also apply to public hearings and appeals? And I would say that it does. And for what it's worth, I even have an opinion, a legal opinion from the solicitor in East Hants, forwarded by their director of planning, and says, we have received our own legal opinion and the advice is that virtual public hearings can go ahead. Our solicitor indicates that meetings mentioned in the ministerial order should be interpreted broadly to include public hearings. As a result, we are going ahead with a virtual public hearing. And I would agree with that. We are in exceptional times. If council wanted to go ahead and hold some kind of a virtual, appeal hearing or something like that, I don't think there would be any problem with it. I guess the question is, at next week's council meeting, is this something that council wants to entertain?
And next month's council meeting, you mean?
That's correct. I would have to send out a notice with a minimum 7 days notice period. So it would be virtually impossible to get that out within, say, before next week. But if council were interested, they could hold the appeal hearing, I guess, at their May council meeting. Or not, or council could wait till, if they're not comfortable with doing so in this type of a manner, just wait till, I guess, we have the coronavirus behind us well enough that you can hold in-person meetings. It's up to yourselves.
I believe that PQ Properties ready to start building, are they? Do you know, Roland?
Yes, they seem pretty anxious. They would like to get going. So I'd certainly on I guess if they were attending this meeting right now, I'm quite certain that they would like the appeal hearing to go ahead as soon as possible.
Roland, I have a question. The 2 complaints that come in, the complaintees, how are they going to get in on the meeting?
I guess that's the $64,000 question at this point. Again, listening to what other municipalities are doing, some have made arrangements where they might have a conference call process. So the notice that goes out will have a conference call number if somebody wants to join in. Others, I believe one of them in Nova Scotia was using a process where they had a laptop computer kind of set up remotely so that people can still speak to a laptop, but not do it face-to-face with elected councillors and staff. So yeah, there are ways around it. I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to be easy, but if council were to entertain it, I think the best way may be to actually have the opportunity for a conference call.
And we can certainly do that.
Okay, great.
And almost everybody has access to telephone, so it shouldn't be an impediment to somebody attending the meeting, I guess.
Right.
So Roland, we would just advertise the phone number. Is that how we would do it in the advertisement?
Yes, that's right, Susan. I'd have to send out those notices to everybody within 30 meters. So if we did have the number ahead of time and I guess an access code or whatever goes with it for a conference call, we could certainly put that in the letter to make sure that people have it. And more specifically, I guess I would send out that information directly by email and by phone to the gentleman or the two complainants to make sure that they actually had the opportunity, as well as PQ Properties.
No problem.
Yes, perfect, thank you. How's council? Is council okay with that?
Yeah, the only, Roland, could you send me just a sketch or a map of where the houses are going, if you don't mind?
Yep, no problem. Actually, I'll put it together with the package that would have gone to council that had the whole report in there anyway. So that's no problem. I can put that together for all of council.
Good, thank you.
So council's good with that?
I'm good with it.
I'm not really comfortable with it, but if it has to be done, it has to be done.
I agree with that, Councillor Pence.
I think Councillor Pence, in this situation where we do know that there are some complaints,
Yes.
so I would be more uncomfortable if there weren't any complaints. So the fact that there are, council can deal with them at that meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Is there anything else you want to highlight from your report, Roland?
No, the only thing I'll mention is I'm sure Emily will agree on this. We'll probably be experiencing a pretty slow year for the next little while. I don't know if when folks have been watching what's going on in other parts of the country. The province of Ontario, a week and a half ago, shut down their whole construction industry with the exception of major new necessary developments. So i.e. there's a major hospital going up just north of Toronto, transportation infrastructure, that sort of thing. But basically speaking, and I heard this from a contractor friend of mine in Newfoundland who, even though he wasn't forced to shut down, did anyway. He does a lot of interior renovations like bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens, that sort of thing. And he said it is virtually impossible to have two guys put up some drywall or sheet of drip rock or do a ceiling and stay 6 feet apart. So I'm suspecting that we may see a fair bit of slowdown, if not a shutdown, depending on what happens with coronavirus. So anyway, we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best.
You're right, Roland.
Thank you very much, Roland. I also wanted to ask you the second last bullet in your reports about the sidewalk cafe bylaw. That was passed at the last council meeting. I'm wondering if you would be able to call the affected businesses and maybe inform them of the new bylaw that's in place.
Yep, certainly. I can get a hold of them in the next week or two.
I'm just thinking there's two that I think of. I don't know if there's more than that, but
I have a question, Your Worship. The people in that restaurant have used that for a number of years. I'm just wondering if we could give them an alternate, if we could move to the side street, if they'd be happy with that. When, that street's a one-way street. And they could use, I forget the name of the street, but maybe they could open it up at the side.
Union
Street. Thank you, Councillor Pence. Yeah, if we could move it to the Union Street. Roland, you have...
The issue would be the fire department there, maybe, would it?
Yeah, I would certainly include both the fire department and the traffic authority, the chief, because it is a one-way street, but we want to make sure that, there's no negative impact on any kind of the ability for emergency vehicles to get through and that sort of thing.
It's a narrow street too, Brian. It is a real narrow street.
Can I ask the three of you then just to take a look at it and let us know at the next council?
Sure, yeah, we can have a look at it.
The fire chief and the police chief as well, and yourself. Thank you.
And I guess the last thing, Roland, is yes, please, on the monthly report.
Oh,
I do
certainly.
enjoy, I think council benefits from getting this report, so if you get on a monthly basis, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely, Your Worship. Yeah, I held off for a little while only because, I wasn't sure where the status was with all of this going forward. But no, absolutely, I can go back to doing monthly reports. That's no trouble.
Thank you very much. Is there any further questions?
I make a motion that we accept Roland's report as written, Your Worship.
I'll second that report. A motion, I'm sorry.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Councillor Knight. All those in favor now saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? So motion passed unanimously. Next one, thank you, Roland. We'll move on to 5D, Fire Chief Mike O'Sullivan.
Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. I just want to mention, if you have any questions on our monthly report for the month of March, you can ask away. We had a fairly quiet month, obviously, and things have been quiet since with the situation that we're in right now, but hopefully it stays that way. Thanks.
Chief, I just wanted to read the part of your report out for the public. So obviously, this is from the Stellarton Fire Department's March monthly report. Obviously, with the coronavirus outbreak, we've had to alter our normal routine for everything we do. As a result, we have had to postpone regular practice, and we had new protocols for answering calls. Members now keep their PPE, personal protective equipment, in their personal vehicles, and we each have rubber gloves, eye protection, and a mask with us on all calls. Also, we limit the number of members to actually enter the building where the call occurs. Of course, depending on the call, these limitations may not be applied. So thank you for responding to the COVID-19 situation. And also thank you for, there's a fire on our main street that a lot of people saw during the daytime there a few weeks ago. So thank you for responding to that and taking care of it in a timely and efficient manner.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the chief?
I'd move the fire department report as written, Your Worship.
I'll second that motion, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Penn, seconded by Councillor Knight. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded. Most carried unanimously. Thank you, Chief. 5E is Paige Clark, Marketing and Communications.
Good evening. You have my report. Are there any questions?
I just want to comment on the great job you're doing, Paige. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that too, Paige. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Just wanted a couple things from the from your report. I see you're on top of the accessibility, so that's really important for the town, and we thank you for that. I see you're also doing some work with AMANS, the Association of Municipal Administrators, regarding grants for employee health and wellness, and also to a 4-week health and wellness challenge to help employees battle the changes to regular work and personal life. So it's even more important in these times, so thank you for that. I also want to mention the Go Green, Get Clean has been postponed. And the branding and communication plan, you're looking at something for the PAC meeting tomorrow night?
Yes, I have parts of the draft done up, and I'll be able to share that with the group.
Excellent. I want to thank you too for being the public information officer, community liaison for Remo, Pictou County. It's a very important role, and we're glad that you're able to fulfill it for us. So thank you. Any questions or comments for Paige? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councillor Knight, seconded by Councillor Pence. All those in favor by saying aye.
All right.
Contrary minded. Most carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Paige. 5F, Blaine Murray, Town Engineer.
Good afternoon, Council and Your Worship. You have my reports as submitted. Just like to say that staff are continuing to work within the COVID-19 recommendations set by the province in terms of social distancing and hygiene. Hasn't been going too bad so far, and we're continuing to move forward.
Thank you. And I'll do a little bit of reading just for the public about what the COVID-19 update is from Public Works. So the staff is divided into 2 crews, alternating week to week, similar to other towns in the province. Employees are practicing social distancing and proper hygiene. Public Works is not interacting with the general public unless it's deemed necessary. And we now have a custodian working full-time. It was part-time hours, now full-time hours. Extensive deep cleaning is being done in the police department, town hall, Public Works, and water treatment. Signs have been placed in all playgrounds to restrict usage. And all buildings that are shut down due to the COVID pandemic are being inspected each week visually. Is that all correct? Blaine?
Yes.
Any questions for the engineer?
I heard today there was 43 new cases of COVID in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, that's right. I went on the website this afternoon and I don't believe there's been a case in the northern region since Thursday. I believe it stayed 44 for the last number of days. So hopefully it seems like it's working, and we'll leave it up to the experts to tell us when they can lift restrictions off and take off the state of emergency.
The International Medical or Health Society, I guess they're looking into in southern Korea. They had 91 cases down there where people had the virus and they were cleared, and they have it again. So it could be. Experts can't say whether if you're not going to get it again.
Gary?
Your worship, I'd like to pass Blaine's report as written.
I would second that.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Councillor Wand. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, most carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Blaine. We're on to correspondence, number 6A, the Attorney General Justice regarding Accessibility Act. I'll ask the clerk to speak to that.
This was received for council's information on March 13th. The Accessibility Act was proclaimed in 2017, demonstrating the Nova Scotia government's commitment to a more equitable and barrier-free province. The Accessibility Directorate has been working closely with the municipal sector to keep you informed of your obligations under the Act and to provide you with the support you need. On December 3rd, 2019, the government of Nova Scotia announced that the town of Stellarton will be prescribed as a public sector body under the Act as of April 1st, 2020. This means that the town of Stellarton must form an accessibility advisory committee and have an accessibility plan in place by April 1st, 2021.
Thank you. And we do now have an accessibility advisory committee in place.
That is correct, we do.
We're working on the plan.
Correct.
Thank you. Any questions, if any, from council now? Okay, we'll move on to 6B, Warden Robert Parker regarding request for letter of support.
This letter, or this email rather, was sent to Mayor McGilvray on April 1st. I'm requesting of you to write a letter of support on behalf of our council's high-speed internet project to Minister of Business, Jeff McClellan. This is in relation to the fact that the province, through Develop Nova Scotia, has deemed our project ineligible for any funding from the trust fund set up to administer those monies under the auspices of the Department of Business. Our council finds this very unfair and unjustified to Pictou County. A significant portion of our residents are at a huge disadvantage at this very critical time. And while this project will probably not help during this crisis, it points out a great need. Our municipality wants to create our own network because we want to offer quality service to all our residents. Your support would be much appreciated. So if council wishes.
Your worship, I'd like to make a motion to send a letter of support. I think it's a great worthwhile cause to help promote access to internet.
Yeah, I'll second that, Brian, or your worship.
We'll move by Councillor Knight, seconded by Councillor Pence. Is there any discussion on the question? I think it's pretty straightforward. We want the Pictou County residents hooked up.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, most carried unanimously. Thank you. Number 7 is Committee of the Whole report, and there is no report due to the cancellation of the meeting. Item 8 is the Police Commission report.
There's nothing to report in Police Commission. We didn't, your worship, we didn't have a meeting last or this month because of the COVID virus and of what was happening, but we're prepared to have a meeting either on Zoom or telephone if it's required. But I've been in contact with the chief and had some conversations, and it seems like everything is running very well.
Yes,
Brian.
Sorry, go ahead.
I thought I read in that report where you guys want to put the old Rambler up for sale.
That's correct. So Chair Knight, this Police Commission's report is from the March 5th meeting, which seems like a million years ago. So the recommendation number one that was brought forth from the Police Commission from that meeting was that council approve the annual donation to the Stellarton Westville Youth Police Corps in the amount of $200. And recommendation number two, council approves selling the Rambler police car through the tender process.
Council okay with those recommendations?
Yep.
Yeah,
So I would like a motion and a seconder for that, Your Worship.
I'll move a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, good.
Moved by Councillor Knight, seconded by Councillor Luan. All those in favor, by saying aye.
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 On the question.
On the question, is there a question?
Question. Simon, I'm glad you seconded the motion.
Okay, so all those in favor, by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 9 is a resolution 04-14-20 regarding the waiver of interest on water and taxes.
Yes, Your Worship, and I'd like to apologize to council for in their package, they have last month's resolution on the returning officer, but this is the resolution 2020-04-14 that I will read. Whereas the municipality has received approval from the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board regarding water interest, and whereas the Municipal Government Act, Section 111, gives municipalities the authority to set the due date for taxes and establish interest rates to charge on overdue accounts. And whereas the province has declared a state of emergency effective March 22nd, 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Stellarton approve the waiving of interest for water and taxes on overdue accounts until June 30th, 2020.
So move.
I'll second that motion, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Pence, seconded by Councillor Knight. Is there any discussion on the question?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward, Dan.
I agree. All those in favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Our next council meeting will be Monday,
It's
May
May.
11th.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And I will confirm with council and the public through Roland that there will be if there will be a public hearing. And if that's the case, it will be held at 5:15 live. And then we will have a council meeting after that.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll have an in-camera after this, I guess, but for the time being, that's the meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So move.
Just one thing before we adjourned, I just want to, for the public's information, just talk about a little bit of the postponement dates. So the volunteer reception was originally scheduled for April 22nd. That has been postponed until September. No date has been set, but will be advised. As the mayor mentioned through Paige's report, that the community cleanup on April 25th has been postponed. Paige, I don't know if we do have a postponement date for that at this time, do we?
No, and they're not sure if they're going to look at doing a different sort of event or doing it in the fall. So I'm still on those emails, and I think we're looking at doing another either conference call or video call. So I'll keep you guys informed with that one.
Perfect. The committee of the whole, which will be held on April 27th, will be similar to this. It will be a virtual meeting. The police commission is scheduled for May 7th, and it will be a teleconference meeting. And then May 11th, again, as the mayor mentioned, will be the next council meeting. That's all from me. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And we have a motion to adjourn from Councillor Pence. So meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So we just move right into camera.
So Paige, you just let me know when that recording has stopped.